If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. So we got some really good news. The Supreme Court ruled against Donald Trump in a groundbreakingly important Supreme Court decision. It's a big f***ing deal. They, not only that, but they ruled unanimously against Donald Trump. They haven't had a unanimous decision in like 30 years or something like that. It is always split down party lines practically every single time. So the fact that they got a unanimous one's a big deal. Let's listen to Kyle Kulinski talk about it here.
All right, guys, we got some great news. So the Supreme Court just ruled unanimously 9-0 that Kilmar Abrego Garcia has to be released.
This is a guy that was sent by mistake. The administration said they sent him there by mistake to El Salvador. And by the way, El Salvador is a slave camp. It's a literal concentration camp in every sense of the word, or in every sense of the term. You know, what do you think when you think concentration camp? You think they were using people for slave labor and they were killing some of them. That's what's happening at this camp. Seriously. I cannot overstate how important it is that people understand how bad El Salvador's concentration camp is. And they sent this dude there for nothing. For nothing. He did nothing. Anyway, the Supreme Court said that they must facilitate his return. There's some updates, so we're not just going to listen to this. We're going to talk about the decision and some other stuff.
This is a guy who they admitted, the DOJ admitted, yeah, it was kind of an error that we sent this guy. He was totally innocent of any wrongdoing. You had the president accuse him of being a gang member. The VP accused him of being a gang member. There's zero evidence for any of that. Like I said, they admitted in court, actually, oh, yeah, it turns out he didn't do anything wrong. So this is a huge...
Dude is completely innocent of any wrongdoing, and they sent him to a literal concentration camp. This is the exact that happened in Germany, seriously.
Huge deal. That 9-0 unanimously, they're saying you have to facilitate his return. So they still try to do the thing where they, like, in their language, they split the difference and try to be, like, moderate on it. But even with trying to be moderate, they had to come to the right conclusion because it's so painfully obvious.
It's egregious
that this guy was sent incorrectly and this wildly violates the law. So
right.
Go ahead.
Right. And so let me just talk about it for a second. So here's the thing. There are so many different checks on power in the United States, right? Like every branch of government has a check on every other branch. And Donald Trump has just trampled all over every check on power, just completely ignored it. The Supreme Court is the last check on power, pretty much, that Trump has not flagrantly ignored or eliminated. So the question now is Donald Trump going to ignore this court order, thus completely eliminating the last check on his power? And here is his response.
Of the border. Have you talked to Attorney General Pam Bondi recently about the cases going on with the deportations?
Yeah, sure. It's really sad when you think that Biden allowed millions of people to come in, and if they find one now...
But this isn't about Biden. What are you talking about?
I will tell you, the one, somebody said he's a member of MS-13, not Tren de Aragua. He's a member of MS-13, and therefore he should immediately be brought back. Well,
That's not true. He's not a gang member. He's completely innocent.
MS-13 is just as bad as Tren de Aragua. So they say, oh, we made a mistake because he's not with them. He's with MS-13.
That wasn't the mistake. The Trump administration admitted to a mistake, and the mistake was they didn't mean to send him there. He got pushed up in his timeline or whatever, because some people were removed from the flight log. I don't remember exactly what it was, because they went somewhere else. And so they had a big list of people that was next in line, and he just got pushed onto the list, even though he was completely innocent. He was just some dude that didn't have a criminal record, nothing. He's going through the legal immigration process in the United States. And they sent him there. And the administration admitted, we made a mistake by sending him there. In court, they admitted that. The reason they admitted it at the time in court was because if they didn't say we made a mistake by sending him there, then they would have had to tell the truth about it, which is they're indiscriminately sending people there. So they say, oops, rather than we don't give a shit what you think. So anyway, by admitting that they sent him there by mistake, it allowed the Supreme Court to take on this perfect case for this situation. And they ruled against Trump here and said they must facilitate his return.
Bring him back. MS-13 is a very bad group.
So now Donald Trump is trying to spin it. Instead of saying we made a mistake by sending him there, he's saying we made a mistake. He's a different kind of gang member. That's just not true. It's a lie.
I have great respect for him. I know him. I've known him for a long time.
Wait, who are we talking about?
Respect for him. I know him. Very bad group. I have great respect for him. I know.
For who? I don't know who the hell he's talking about.
I know him. I've known him for a long time. He's a young leader, and he's very tough on crime. Very, very tough on crime.
Dude, did we just get completely, I don't know what happened. Are we in a different subject all of a sudden, just seemingly out of nowhere? Anyway, Pam Bondi replies to this situation too. Check this out.
We asked him 2 questions.
Well, first of all, it was an administrative error as to why he was deported. And he is a known gang member.
No, he's not. That's a lie.
Testified he was a gang member.
And ICE testified. ICE testified to that. I feel so much better knowing that ICE testified. Because we can trust ICE completely, right?
Administrative error as to why he was deported. And he is a known gang member. ICE testified he was a gang member. And we believe he should stay where he is. You know, the defense had argued that he was, a journeyman, that he was training to be an electrician. Well, the last gang member we arrested, who was
He wasn't a gang member.
A violent murderer, was also hanging wallpaper in a place called the Villages in Florida, one of the biggest retirement places in our country.
She's equivocating. She's trying to conflate what some other random dude who she doesn't even name is doing, or what he's up to, or his bad qualities. She's trying to link his bad qualities with this random guy that didn't do anything to anybody, completely innocent of any wrongdoing. This could be you. This could be me. I am next in the line of fire as a media figure that's critical of Donald Trump. This could be any of us. Next, we need to call it out now while we have the chance, in my opinion.
So these people are living among us. One of the big cases we had, I think you're very aware of, half an hour from where we're standing, was another violent gang member living right among us in a very, very nice residential neighborhood.
So she's just going to talk about gang members now instead of talking about the fact that they sent the wrong guy to a literal concentration camp. Just horrific. Empty, soulless, evil human being. All of them. There is seemingly nothing good in these people. Like, I don't know who raised them or if they've ever been diagnosed with sociopathy or what, but this is... Anyway, the reason we're talking about it in the first place is because the Supreme Court said this dude needs to come back now. Here's another little trick that Pam Bondi tried. She said, the Supreme Court said we have to facilitate his return, not effectuate his return. I.e., we have to make it easy for him to return if Bukele chooses to return him. but we have no obligation to effectuate it. We have no obligation to, like, try to get him back. We're just going to say, like, if he wants to return him, then we'll send a plane. That's Pam Bondi's interpretation of the Supreme Court. That is effectively completely ignoring it. Luckily, the Supreme Court can come back and say, you're so full of you have to follow our instructions, and I believe that they will. This is the guy, Ali Abbas Ahmadi. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the Trump administration must try to release a Maryland man who was mistakenly deported to a mega jail in El Salvador. Call it what it is, a concentration camp. Some people speculate that he might be dead. He might have died on day one, for all they know. And now the Trump administration has to lie and twist it around and pretend they didn't understand English when they were told what they're supposed to do. Because if they actually try to follow the court order, then everybody is going to find out that it's a concentration camp that kills people to a death camp, which I think we all are already aware of. In a 9-0 ruling, the justices declined to block a lower court's order to facilitate bringing back Kilmar Abrego Garcia. That's his name. But they also said Judge Paula Zinnes may have exceeded her authority. On Friday, Judge Zinnes directed the Trump administration to provide her with daily updates on what steps they were taking to bring Mr. Garcia back to the U.S. Wow, interesting. The government has conceded Mr. Garcia was deported due to an administrative error, though it also alleges he is a member of the MS-13 gang, which his lawyer denied. There's no reason to think that. It's just completely fabricated out of the ether. It's entirely made up. They made it up to justify not bringing him back. They made it up to try to turn public opinion against him. So when they're ready to completely ignore the Supreme Court, they'll have some kind of justification for it. Mr. Garcia, a Salvadoran, is one of dozens of alleged gang member migrants placed by the U.S. on military planes last month and flown to El Salvador's notorious CICOT, Terrorism Confinement Center, under an arrangement between the two countries. Interesting, Terrorism Confinement Center. You know, I didn't connect the dots before. Like, Donald Trump declared, like, Mexican cartels terrorist organizations. You guys remember that a while back? It was when he was, day 5 or something. It was super early in the administration. And I was thinking, well, that's not good, but it could be worse, I suppose. Now I'm starting to see why he did that. Because he was laying out the legal framework, the legal justification to send random people to these terrorist black sites that nobody ever comes out of. This is like leading up to World War II. There were a couple of animal treatment laws that were put into place. One basically said you need to put an animal down if it's suffering, and the other said you must give an animal anesthesia if it's if you're going to put it down. And Hitler took those and expanded them out to apply them to more than just animals. Applied it to Jews and, any perceived inferior race, basically. Or inferior people like Jehovah's Witnesses or whatever. It's these little things that you never expect, these little laws that get expanded out into something absolutely psychotic. The Supreme Court, which has a 6-3 conservative majority, issued its decision in an unsigned order on Thursday. The justices did not give the administration a deadline for when Mr. Garcia should be freed. The fact that they agreed with a lower court means they're probably going to have to follow the deadline that the lower court gave, which is daily updates, I would guess. They said Judge Zinnes may have exceeded her authority when she required the Trump administration to effectuate Mr. Garcia's return. Wow. The district's court should clarify its directive with due regard for the deference owed to the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs, the Supreme Court order said. You know what? I'm going to take this as a win. This is a win. The Supreme Court decided against Donald Trump that he cannot just send random people to this literal concentration camp because he wants to. You can't do that. Even if you have engaged the Alien Insurrection Act, you can't do that. Anyway, let's listen to just like a little bit more of the secular talk thing.
A couple of things, and then I'll read the order. So first of all, this was the Maryland father. His wife is a U.S. citizen. 3 kids, 2 of them special needs. One of them, 5-year-old, nonverbal autistic, who was with him when he was arrested.
Holy shit, dude.
The only real interaction he'd had with the justice system, he got picked up. He was in a Home Depot parking lot, trying to get day labor or work with a contractor or whatever. And so how this allegation even came up is you had some sketchy confidential informant who claimed he was a gang member in New York, where he doesn't even live.
He'd never been there.
And he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat. And those are the things that they pointed to be
so they thought, it's red, therefore he's in a gang, right?
This is why you need due process right here. This is the reason. Due process is where we go through and establish the facts of the case beyond a shadow of a doubt, or beyond reasonable doubt. Was he in a gang? If you think so, then let's take all of the evidence that ICE collected, quote unquote, and have it reviewed by an objective observer, a judge or a grand jury or whatever. And if they decide that he has a questionable history, then we can take steps from there. That's not what's happening. ICE claims some and as a result, he goes to a literal concentration camp. No hard evidence to back it up, no trail to follow their line of logic, no nothing.
Basically,
Which, by the way, that's that would be the Bloods, and that's not MS-13.
Supposedly, there's some sportsman. I don't know, but that was what they.
They try to link that to Tren de Aragua or MS-13, red for some reason.
Yeah, and then the other thing to note is that the lawyers for the Justice Department, who were honest in court and were like, "Yeah, it was an error. And
again, they weren't honest. It's that they were doing it indiscriminately. They were just sending random people. And instead of saying, we're just sending whoever we want, they came up with an explanation, which is, oops.
And admitted that they didn't have information on how this happened or why that happened. The Trump administration put them on leave, put that lawyer on leave, and their boss for daring to actually be honest in court. So, okay, all of that being said, this is great news. Let me read this order. It's not that long, and we can go through all the pieces. So, on March 15, 2025, the U.S. removed Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia from the U.S. to El Salvador, where he is currently detained in what they call CCOT. The U.S. acknowledges that Abrego Garcia was subject to a withholding order forbidding his removal to El Salvador, and that the removal to El Salvador was therefore illegal because he had a reasonable claim that him and his family had been subject to death threats themselves by gang members in El Salvador. So a judge said, okay, the government cannot deport you to El Salvador, and that's what they're talking about here. The U.S. represents that the removal to El Salvador was the result of a, quote, administrative error. The U.S. alleges, however, that Abrego Garcia has been found to be a member of the gang MS-13, a designated foreign terrorist organization. And
that's why he designated them a terrorist organization, so he could do like this. I mean, gangs are not good, obviously. They facilitate organized crime, and they hurt the people around them and stuff like that. But there's a reason that gangs started in the first place. There's a purpose behind gangs that exist. Some of the earliest U.S. gangs came about because black men were coming home from work and they were having the shit beat out of them by the white police. So they form large groups that shuttled each other to and from work every day to make sure that the police wouldn't bother them. They supported their communities, and as happens with any large organization, especially if that organization is willing to get violent, as gangs were, it broke down into a kind of protection racket. They would break into places to steal, to fund their activities. They started drawing hard lines on maps saying that these groups can't come in, these gangs can't come into our area, and we won't go into theirs. You know, it started as a noble idea and decayed into violence and ugliness. But at its core, gangs still kind of serve the same purpose to, for the most part, depending on the gang, serve their little communities. If you are in a gang, you are protected from certain types of violence and stuff. So there are some areas of the country, of the United States, for better or worse, that are controlled by gangs. They have like gang regions. And if you live in this area, then you are somehow affiliated with the gang. Trump just declared entire gangs to be terrorist organizations, which means anybody affiliated anywhere along the line at all is now a terrorist and subject to going to a concentration camp. I mean, are we starting to connect the dots on how dangerous this could get? Are you guys starting to see why this is so bad? I mean, I'm sure most of you already saw this, but for any Trump supporters watching, are you starting to connect the dots on this? Are you starting to see why this could be bad? Which gang is he going to declare a terrorist organization next? Are they bad? Absolutely. Do they control entire areas of cities? Yes. And anybody that's affiliated in any way can now go to a concentration camp. This is setting it up to literally send every black person that he wants to a concentration camp, every Mexican that he wants to a concentration camp.
That his return to the U.S. would pose a threat to the public. Abrego Garcia responds, he is not a member of MS-13 and that he has lived safely in the U.S. with his family for a decade and has never been charged with a crime. True. On Friday, April 4th, the U.S. District Court for the District of Maryland entered an order directing the government to facilitate and effectuate the return of Abrego Garcia.
So, I guess the Supreme Court said she might have overstepped by saying effectuate? Okay, that makes absolutely no sense. But they kind of left the door open for Trump to just not do shit, didn't they?
That language is important, so we'll come back to that.
And that's the lower court saying, basically, you got to bring him back, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, so facilitate and effectuate the return to the U.S. by no later than 11:59 p.m., so basically midnight on Monday, April 7th, Monday of this past week.
And they just ignored it completely.
On the morning of April 7th, the U.S. filed this application to vacate the district court's order. So the U.S. government appealed. The Chief Justice entered an administrative stay.
This is John Roberts, I guess?
That was saying like, okay, you don't have to get him back tonight. We're going to take a look at it. The application is granted in part and denied in part, subject to the direction of this order. Due to the administrative stay issued by the Chief Justice, the deadline that had been imposed by the district court, that is now passed. To that extent, the government's emergency application is effectively granted in part, and the deadline in the challenge order is no longer effective. So we've already blown through the deadline. We put our administrative stay in place, so obviously that deadline no longer applies. The rest of the district court's order remains in effect, but requires clarification on remand. The order properly requires the government to, quote, facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador and to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been improperly sent to El Salvador. The intended scope of the term effectuate in the district court's order is, however, unclear and may exceed the district court's authority. The district court should clarify its directive with due regard for the deference owed to the executive branch in the conduct of foreign affairs. So they say, you're right, the government has to facilitate, but this term effectuate, you need to clarify to make sure that it is not bumping up against the executive's prerogatives to, conduct foreign policy the way they...
i.e., you need to lay things out and make it easy for him to return. And if Bukele chooses to return him, then be prepared to, accept him and do whatever it takes to get him back. But you don't have to, go to El Salvador and demand him back. You don't have to try too hard, is what this is saying, basically. Better than nothing, I'll take it.
They want to.
Yeah, so the executive has the right to control foreign policy, so you can't say they have to effectuate his return, but they're saying you definitely have to facilitate it.
You gotta try.
You definitely gotta try because this is wildly, wildly illegal.
And this last sentence here, for part, the government should be prepared to share what it can concerning the steps it has taken and the prospect of further steps. The order heretofore entered by the Chief Justice is vacated. So
9-0.
The fact that it's 9-0 is so great.
It gives...
Freaking Clarence Thomas was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's a big fucking deal. That shows me that the Supreme Court is not all in. I was convinced that the Supreme Court is all in for Trump no matter what. No questions asked. Brett Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, Alito, those three people, their brains are gone. They're gone. They've been replaced with MAGA. There's nothing left of their original personalities. It's like with my mom. There's no longer like a Jennifer Morgan. It's now Jennifer Morgan, Jehovah's Witness. Everything else has been erased. It's that same exact way with Alito and Clarence Thomas and Kavanaugh. And the fact that they drew a hard line here is like wild to me. I can't even believe it. It's really, really good news, is the bottom line. And it's something that we should celebrate. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Do you think this guy's ever going to see the light of day? Do you think he's already dead? Tell me your thoughts. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Trump supporters seem to be kind of turning against him to some degree, but there's some caveat here. Listen to what this Trump supporter says.
We want to have as many bees as we can to make honey.
At Secret Garden Bees, a honey farm in Linden, North Carolina, farmer Jim Hartman has one eye on his bees and the other on his bank account.
Ideally, we'll get 100 pounds of honey per hive per year.
How do you feel about paying more for things?
Well, if you find someone who says, I'm happy about paying more for something, you point them out to me.
Oh, they're there. They are there, and they're going to talk to him in a minute.
People who already couldn't afford fresh vegetables, who couldn't already afford to put good food on their plate, are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this.
Did you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you were going to lose money?
If he says anything other than, yes, I saw this coming, he is dumb as dog. I'm sorry, man.
Never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
Jim is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps...
Dude, do they have to do this interview with a fucking tractor, really, going in the background? Is there no better way to do this interview than with a tractor?
I've considered some other options.
Among other things, Jim imports packaging supplies for his honey, so he's paying real close attention to the tariffs Trump just put in place.
We just bought our year's supply of bottles from Taiwan and our year's supply of corks from Portugal about 3 weeks ago. So that would have been, another $5,000 or $6,000 out of my pocket.
Which is
wow, dude.
Partly why he's repairing instead of replacing this 40-year-old forklift.
The cost of equipment has just gone through the roof to buy anything like that because it just would be cost prohibitive.
He's also holding off on improvements around the farm.
Well, we're not going to hire any more people, that's for sure.
See, this is how tariffs affect people in ways that one wouldn't necessarily expect. Like, okay, things that we import from China, we're not going to be able to import those things anymore, right? We're going to have to manufacture them here. Well, first of all, we don't have the facilities set up for that. But okay, we get the facilities set up in 6 months to a year, fine. It doesn't matter because literally everything, every part that we need to even set up these facilities in the first place comes from China or Taiwan or Canada or somewhere. The United States is a service-based economy, like YouTube, Facebook, and a bunch of other, types of services. Programming services. We have manufacturing, we have steel plants and stuff, but that is it is not even close to enough to supply our own needs in the United States. We must import, we must. So the fact that we don't have the factories set up yet doesn't even matter. When we do set them up, we're not going to be able to get the parts necessary to manufacture this stuff. We're not going to have the parts to make the factories. And this guy is drawing that out pretty clearly. It's a honey farm. It's bees. How can a honey farm be affected negatively by tariffs? Because the bottles and the corks and the farming equipment and everything all along the line all requires stuff shipped in from overseas. literally everything is going to become more expensive. Every single thing. And some stuff is going to be 4 more times expensive. I mean, Trump put 400% tariffs on China recently, didn't he? Or he's been talking about it at least.
It's more than just the tariffs. For the past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to the federal government, which then provides it to schools and food banks. But after Donald Trump took office, the USDA cut those programs suddenly as part of the federal government's effort to streamline spending.
For a lot of other local farmers around here, it was a major source of reliable revenue. For me, it's going to cost me around $150,000 a year.
Holy
$150,000.
Yeah, roughly 50% of my revenue.
Oh my God, dude. This guy's losing half his revenue. Half his revenue. I'm sorry, man. I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. You brought this on yourself, bud. This is all you. Literally every part of this is your doing, and you deserve it. I'm sorry for your family. I'm sorry for your neighbors and your friends and your kids and everything else. I'm sorry for all of them. But your dumb deserves this. I told you, okay? I don't know how to make it clearer.
That's a huge hit.
That's a massive hit.
Not far from Jim's farm, we found other Trump supporters who give President high marks on tariffs.
Okay, now they're going to hit this segment where pretty much everybody they talk to from here on is in favor of Trump and thinks he's doing a good thing with the tariffs. Even local farmers, really.
How do you feel about the tariffs?
Well, I feel like for years we've been getting ripped off, and why not make it fair? 0-0.
This is so fucking stupid, dude. This is a good glimpse into how Trump supporters absorb propaganda. Trump claims that, every country has tariffs on us. Taiwan, China, so on and so forth. Says that, didn't he say that Vietnam has 46% tariffs on us or something like that? It was a lie. He lied. It wasn't tariffs. They have a trade deficit with us. And he's complaining about that. That's like saying, I have a trade deficit with Walmart because I buy my groceries there, and Walmart isn't subscribed to my Patreon. To fix that, I would need Walmart to subscribe to my Patreon to reverse that trade deficit. Trade deficits are not bad. My God! It is so fucking stupid. Every bit of this is all so fucking stupid. It's crazy.
And I think Trump was upfront about it. He said we're going to hurt some now.
I think some of the countries they're already starting to come around. It's going to be good.
Some of the countries are coming around, she says. It's going to be good. The plan up front, that Trump said this, the plan was to make people's lives miserable in France, to charge them out the wazoo for everything, to make everything more expensive, to bluff, basically, and claim that you don't need anybody else when we absolutely do, and make their lives harder. And the hope is that they're going to cave, and they're going to kiss Trump's ass, quote unquote, as he said, which is going to get them to give him a more favorable deal, whatever. And it didn't work. This plan rested on the assumption that other countries were going to cooperate with Trump's plan to bully and be a piece of shit to everybody around him. And that's just not how a global economy or global politics works. So Trump tried to everybody by creating a global depression and telling everybody, I'll stop this global depression if you, whatever, donate 2% of your GDP to the Trump Foundation or something, whatever. I don't know what he wanted. And it just didn't work because other countries are ready to cut us out of the economy completely. I'm buying a deep freezer. I don't have that much money to throw around, but I'm buying one. I'm putting it downstairs, and I am buying a load of meat that I'm going to have down there because I expect everything. I expect to get bad, honestly, really, because of these dumb motherfuckers right here.
I really believe that.
You have faith in Trump?
Yes, I do.
I think he's doing the right thing. In order for us to get back where we need to be, he needs to get the money somewhere, and they're charging us.
No, they're not. They're not. They are not charging us. My God.
Why not charge them?
Back at Jim's farm, though, still plenty of worry. He says raw honey is considered a luxury good, similar to organic vegetables. As prices rise,
I don't know what that's going to do to consumer spending.
Trump paused the majority of the tariffs for 90 days after we'd left Jim's farm. Jim told us by phone, it's flip-flopped so many times you can't take it to the bank. Who knows what it will be next week?
Right. Uncertainty in the market. That's a bad thing, always.
Adding, it seems like he's heard the American people. Randy Kay, CNN, Linden, North Carolina.
All of this volatility and uncertainty brought on by the trade war that we were just talking about, we've got
a pointless trade war. Like, there's literally no reason for this. None.
You've got China announcing it's raising retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 25%. That coming after President Trump hiked the rate of Chinese goods, the rate on Chinese goods coming into America from 104% now to 145%. All of that creating so much uncertainty is having a real and immediate.
I mean, you know how much we get from China? Go into any random store and lift any random item and you will see a made in China sticker on the bottom. It just blows my mind how, I'm sorry, I'm sorry to say, how fucking stupid these people are, or how fucking oblivious, or how obstinate, how stubborn they are. It drives me nuts that these people are like refusing to use their fucking brains for 5 minutes.
Impact on businesses big and small across the country. One small business owner joined us on the show just yesterday describing how the daily chaos and the changes in policy have left her with no good options.
It's hard to make a decision. We had an idea yesterday after the announcement of, well, maybe we can export to Australia, repackage the products, and then re-import them from there. But because policy changes every 36 hours or so, I don't want to make that decision and make that move only for.
Yeah, like our economy is at a point at this immediate moment where, I mean, right now when this is being filmed, we're talking like April 13th to 16th. At this immediate moment, our economy is at a point where the goods that are in stores right now that are on the shelves, they were on the shelves before the tariff mess started. But give it another few weeks, and no matter what, even without tariffs, is going to be a lot more expensive. A lot more. I mean, I don't want to alarm anybody, obviously, but you should probably go buy some toothpaste and toilet paper and stuff. There was a point in time where people were panic buying toilet paper. No reason to do that during the pandemic, because there's going to be plenty. Might be time to start panic buying toilet paper for real, or get a bidet. I've heard good things about those.
For something else to change in just a couple more days. I'm paralyzed. I can't even make a decision right now.
Paralyzed. Another big area of concern is what this means for American farmers, of course. China is, among other things, the biggest export market for American soybeans. China bought 52% of American soybean exports last year, throwing American soybean farmers, understandably, into a whole new level of uncertainty right now. And joining me right now is Scott Metzger. He's a soybean farmer out of Ohio, also serves on the board of directors for the American Soybean Association.
There's an American Soybean Association. That is incredible. How do I become a board member?
Scott, thank you very much for waking up and taking time to speak with me this morning.
Are they taking applications?
This change, I was looking forward to getting your take yesterday afternoon, and now we have this new change overnight coming from China announcing 125% tariff on all U.S. goods coming in. That includes on soybeans.
There is no reason for this. This dumb son of a bitch just started a trade war for no fucking reason. He did this completely pointlessly. And again, those prices aren't high at this moment in the store. I mean, they're a little high. Give it another 3 weeks.
What does this tariff on this new level of tariff on your produce mean for you?
Good morning, Kate. Yeah, it's an alarming concern. With the tighter farm economy that we're in now, the tariffs are just adding issues to problems that we already have.
Like, those people that they're talking to earlier, those Trump nutcases who were saying he's the best and we support him still, even through all this, give him another 6 months. Give him 6 months, and we'll see where they are then. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of this picture that I posted on my my community posts. Yeah, here we go. This is the picture right here. This is just short-term pain for long-term gain. Trump supporter missing a leg, hanging from chains next to the Statue of Liberty, the Scales of Justice lady, and Uncle Sam. Honestly, these people have no idea how f***ed they are. And I hate to say it, I don't want any suffering from anybody ever, no matter what. Suffering is bad. I want to decrease suffering. But if suffering is what it's going to take from Trump supporters for them to realize what they just got us all into, then bring it on. I need these people to understand what they're doing to us, really. Oh, and instead of TP, you can get a water bidet to clean your butt with water. Thank you for... I wasn't sure what you meant by water bidet, so I appreciate the extra line to clean your butt with water. I understand now. Anyway, thank you, Bald Thanos. That was very descriptive and helpful. I've heard good things, so maybe people should, pick up a bidet. You know what? Why isn't that the bidet's slogan? Why isn't that their slogan? It should be, right? It cleans your butt with water. So straightforward, so simple, no frills. Straightforward. A fan to fan your fanny. Okay, that's good. Yes, we are brainstorming bidet slogans, and I'm loving them. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Honestly, these people are, getting us into a world of pain, and I just don't know what to do for them. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Check this dude out. I love this guy. He's about to tear apart Charlie Kirk.
Wait, what was that? If you make a product in America, you don't actually have to pay the tariff. Oh, well, that was a big lie, and he knows it's a big lie, and I can prove it using an easy example, this 100% American-made Florida tangerine right here. See, Charlie is counting on you not thinking about the fact that, yeah, if something's 100% made in America, that exact item won't get a tariff on it, but the entire supply chain and how it's made and all the materials and all of the other parts of it are going to go up in price, right? Let's take a look at this Florida tangerine, right? It grows on a tree, you pick it off. Why would there be a tax on that? Why would there be a tariff on that? Well, what about the hoses for the irrigation to bring water to this tangerine? What about the tractor that's used as these are put into the back of a tractor and then driven off to the supply area so they can be packaged?
But people don't realize how global the economy really is. Tariffs are not helpful. They're not useful at all under any circumstances as a tax, certainly. The only purpose that they serve is to decrease outsourcing. And right now we have an outsourcing problem in the United States, or we have historically recently. So outsourcing has a negative connotation to it for us at this moment. But outsourcing can be really, really good, actually, depending on your economy and your situation. But if you want to decrease outsourcing by using tariffs, you have to take additional steps beyond just putting tariffs in place. You want to bring chip production to the United States, you have to not only tariff the countries that, the chip production, you have to tariff their chips, but you also have to build a chip factory and make that chip factory's supply chain completely independent of the competitor's supply chain. You know how you produce chips, like microchips? You need sand. And it's not just any sand. It's not the stuff that you find in Saudi Arabia. You need a very specific type of sand to make silicon. There's a sand market. There's a sand shortage. And you have to create a supply chain that can reliably get that sand from people if you want to build a chip factory. And what is Trump doing? Effectively, ignoring the supply chain. He's not even investing in a factory. He's just putting the tax on the chips. That's it. He did step 1 and forgot about steps 2 through 17. The only reason he could possibly be doing this is A, because he wants to destroy the U.S. economy, or B, and maybe he wants to do both, because when the economy is destroyed, he can use it to consolidate power. And Charlie Kirk is running cover for him, defending him, trying to encourage people to agree with him, trying to create propaganda on Trump's behalf.
What about the bags, the netting that these are put in, right? Is the netting made in America? You know, when you buy tangerines at the grocery store and they have that little plastic netting around it? 10%. It went up at least 10%, the price of just that netting alone. Where's the label made that goes on that netting, Charlie? And then let's go talk about the rest of the supply chain.
And again, like, a lot of this stuff cannot be manufactured in the United States. Certainly not at a volume that we would need to, like, prop up this economy or prop up this industry. I mean, we would absolutely need to import stuff. We have no choice, because we don't manufacture a lot of this stuff in the United States. We just don't have access to it.
The truck that you needed to go put this tangerine at the grocery store, every single part of that truck, were they all made in America? Because now if anything goes wrong with that truck, that part's going to need to get replaced, which means maintenance costs are going to go up because that part goes up. So now they're going to go pass that on to the actual seller of the tangerine, who's going to pass it on to the buyer. Once we get to the grocery store itself, are all the light bulbs made in America, Charlie? All those fluorescent light bulbs hanging over everybody's head. What about the shelving units? What about the refrigeration units that are used in the produce section, Charlie? What about all of the other different parts of that building itself of the grocery store? Is there anything that might need to be replaced in the near future?
Again, like, you need to set up a whole supply chain independent of the competitor for this to do any good at all. The only reason he's doing this is because he wants to crash the economy so he can consolidate power. That's it. And he said it. He has said as much. I'm talking Donald Trump said this. Right here. I got it.
In the history of our country. And don't let some of these politicians go around saying, because I'm telling you, these countries are calling us up, kissing my... They are dying to make a deal. Please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything.
That's why he's doing it, to consolidate power. So people come begging him to free their industry of tariffs. Not just other countries, but people here. Jeff Bezos begging him to lift the tariff on, I don't know, on electronics, on chips in Taiwan or whatever. Tell him, I will do whatever it takes for you to just lift the tariff. This is fascism. This is what it looks like.
That isn't made in America, because all of them went up at least 10%, because we put a 10% tariff on the entire world. At the minimum and at the maximum, it is percentages that we can't even imagine, because they were imagined by ChatGPT as they were handed off to college students that you spent the last 4 years distracting from.
This is literally how the tariff numbers were invented. ChatGPT. Trump typed in some prompts and got answers back, and that's what he chose to go with.
Going into their classes while you stood out in a tent and yelled, no, it's the wokes and DEI that are causing all these problems, Charlie. And Charlie, I'm even talking about something very simple like a tangerine that's grown right here in Florida. I'm not even getting into anything more complicated like a t-shirt, Charlie, because I know for a fact that your t-shirt costs went up, because Turning Point USA, the organization that you run that is funneling billionaire money to make sure that these kids keep voting to lower taxes somewhere along the line and destroy the world and maybe conquer Greenland or something. That organization that you run uses Gildan t-shirts.
Dude, I like this guy a lot. This dude is awesome.
And Gildan t-shirts, the blanks that you then get screen printed, those are not made here in America. Where are your t-shirts made, Charlie? They're made in Latin America and Southeast Asia. So your t-shirt costs have gone up. Your costs are going up. You don't buy American. You don't use American labor. You just use American voters. And then you turn to them and tell them the money's on the dresser and it's never there. Wait, what was that?
Dude, this guy is I love this dude.
Make a product in America.
Anyway, yeah, tell me what you think about this dude, this in the comments. Like, buckle up, guys. We got a rough ride ahead, to say the least. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. I don't know if you guys remember this clip. This is Kevin Roberts from 2024. This is July 3rd, where he says that they intend to start a revolution that will remain bloodless if the left allows it. Do you remember this?
Over our institutions. The reason that they are apoplectic right now, the reason that
the left,
so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
That's chilling now, isn't it, to hear at this moment in time, because it really is another revolution. They really did intend to and are destroying U.S. democracy. Now, if you don't remember this clip or who this guy is, this is Kevin Roberts. He is the CEO of the foundation, the nonprofit that wrote Project 2025. And he was one of the co-writers or whatever. He helped write it. Looking back at Project 2025, every single part of it is being implemented right now. It was a 100-day plan to turn the United States into a dictatorship on behalf of Christian nationalism. And it's happening. It happened a lot faster than I thought. Full-blown fascism hit like a ton of bricks. I honestly didn't see that. But I want to talk about Kevin Roberts and what he's up to right now. He went on Glenn Beck to talk. Check this out. This is from April 7th.
He's one of the first presidents, in fact, I think the first president since Reagan, that I actually trusts, loves America as much as me. Not
Donald Trump loves America. I'm sorry?
In it for himself, in it for the country. And so I'm sitting here going, I'm not going to give him a pass forever. I mean, a year from now, if we are really struggling because of this, I'm not going to be saying the same thing, but I think we have to let the chef cook the meal.
Okay. How do I follow up on this analogy? Brother, the chef doesn't know how to cook a fucking meal. He's never cooked a meal in his entire life. He's always had a maid to come in and do that for him, first of all. Second, he doesn't even have the ingredients. Third, he's not only does he not have like a recipe, he's not even like calling his buddy to give him advice. And third, his goal isn't to cook a meal. It is to destroy U.S. democracy. So I don't think I want to give the chef an opportunity to work any more than he already has, but okay.
We came into the restaurant. We came because we knew he was the chef. Let him cook the meal.
Donald Trump's great love for this country, a cabinet that I think is the best assembled in modern history.
Really? The cabinet you think is the best in modern history? RFK Jr. alone makes that statement insane.
I think maybe since either Lincoln or first time I saw the cabinet all together, I said, look at the brains. I haven't seen this since the founding era.
I think you're right.
These people are disgusting. This is a complete joke. These people are the architects of destruction, the architects of the plan to dismantle democracy. And it worked. And hey, as it turns out, democracy actually gives us a lot of really useful things in society. Keeps literacy rates high. It maintains human rights. It gives us a strong economy, things like that. Now that those things are going away, because democracy is going away, these people have to run propaganda by just saying, it's going well. Yeah, it's going great. Just ignore anybody that's telling you it's not going great.
Look at the brains. I haven't seen this since the founding era.
I think you're right.
I mean, it's crazy.
I think only Washington's and Lincoln's rival them.
Yes.
That's insane. That is an insane thing to say. Just a few days earlier, Glenn Beck talked on this exact subject. Give this a listen. This is without Kevin Roberts.
Am I willing to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because it's Donald Trump? I don't think so.
Really? Be honest. Come on. He is so transparent. I didn't know this, but apparently Glenn Beck is like the Tucker. He used to be Tucker Carlson, basically. He was in the position that Tucker Carlson was in previously. Like Tucker Carlson was the head of Fox News, as Jesse Waters is now. Effectively, the lead propagandist. And before Tucker Carlson, it was Bill O'Reilly. And before Bill O'Reilly, I believe it was Megyn Kelly. And before that, it was Glenn Beck. And they did, Glenn Beck did all the same that Tucker Carlson did. Demonize groups of people for no fucking reason. There's an organization, a nonprofit, that helps people find good charities to donate to. I forget what it's called now. It's on the tip of my tongue. And Glenn Beck came up with this massive winding conspiracy about how the Tides Foundation, that's what it was, the Tides Foundation. Oh, a massive winding conspiracy, how they were secretly elites that, worked for foreign governments and had bodies on their hands and all kinds of insane. It was just a nonprofit organization. That's it. And he wound up this whole thing over it. And it got to the point where there was actually a stochastic terrorism event where a guy was so wound up over the Tides Foundation that he was pulled over and they found a bunch of guns in his car. And he was on his way to shoot up the Tides Foundation because he believed Glenn Beck when he said all that shit about it. So Glenn Beck doesn't get any passes here. He is a propagandist as bad as Tucker Carlson, as bad as Jesse Waters, or any of the other Fox News nutcases. Equally as bad, if not worse even.
I think I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's the guy we have always wanted. We've wanted a really hard-nosed, twitchy-eye negotiator.
We have.
Somebody that just...
I get so sick of people calling Trump a negotiator. I'm sorry. He's a fucking idiot. He is not a negotiator. He's a moron. If that hasn't been proven to you by now, I don't know what would prove it.
Makes everybody at the table go, don't mess with him. He just might do it. Okay, so that's what he is. He's the best negotiator maybe in the business in the world today.
You explicitly do not want somebody like that in politics. You want somebody who can work with others well and make good faith deals with them where it's mutually beneficial. That is what you need in politics. That's what a politician should be doing. There shouldn't be a scumbag trying to take advantage of people. And, even Glenn Beck agrees with that when he's not talking about Donald Trump. Our politicians should not be zeroed in on taking advantage of people and being scumbags.
He is a great businessman. His gut has been right so many times when I thought
No, it's just a lie. All of this is a lie.
Gut was absolutely wrong. It turns out, oh, wow, it is like that. Okay. He's made mistakes.
Why don't you outline some of those? You've just spent the past 5 minutes fluffing the dude. Now give me one mistake. One.
But he's also the only guy who I really, truly believe that I can point to at that scale that I can say, I know he truly loves the country. I know he has taken it up the butt with his own business for so long.
Okay, that was a little more graphic than I needed. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about or why that matters if his business is doing well or whatever. I have no clue what you're going on about right now. And I also have no clue how you got to he cares about the country. What?
By trying to be president of the United States, he has just been screwed over and over and over again with it.
He's richer than he has ever been in his entire life right now. What are you talking about?
His own business. It's not about him getting rich.
But it just so happens that he did, right?
It's not about him. It is about the country. He's the guy I was looking for as a negotiator. He's the guy I was looking for as a businessman. He understands it. He clearly understands the odds. He's not an attorney. He's not a politician. He's a businessman.
He's really not. He's just a scumbag. He's a sack of shit that is out for himself and always has been. I don't understand. You can try to drill this into people all you want. That's just not the reality.
I think that's why I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, the benefit of the doubt ended 11 years ago. It ended, wait, no, hang on. How long has it been? 2016? 2017 is when he took office, right? Benefit of the doubt ended 8 years ago now. Okay, we learned that he was a complete sack of before that even. But you know what? Benefit of the doubt, by 8 years ago, we knew what he was about. And if you still don't know what he's about, you are either dumb as dog or you are lying to the people around you. You're lying to yourself or lying to others.
And I do it looking him right in the eye saying, I don't necessarily agree on this, but you're the expert on this, so I think I'm going to bet on you. He knows that if this does not work, he's done. He's done. But so does the left. And
if this doesn't work, he's done. I assume he's talking about the tariffs right now. I mean, Trump could literally do anything. I mean, literally shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and it wouldn't do anything. He would be fine. He'd walk out of it completely unscathed. His poll numbers would not drop at all.
That's why the left is doing everything they can to thwart him, to use the judges and everything else, because this has to all happen quickly.
It couldn't be because he's violating people's rights and breaking the law, right?
And so anything that throws this and slows this down brings us back to, listen to today's first hour monologue on the podcast, brings us back down to the two choices we have. We are either going to break out and do something very different, which is what I usually do in my life. Break out and say, you know what? It's not really working the way I think it should, and I see trends, and I'm going to go this way. And it's usually high risk. But it's paid off for me in the past. It's also bitten me in the butt a couple of times.
Okay, interesting. Well, the high-risk venture you're asking us to engage in right now is something, well, I'm sorry, you're not even asking us. The high-risk venture that you imposed on us as a Trump voter has gotten countless people killed and sent to concentration camps, has lost untold amounts of money. Trump may have eliminated more wealth in a single day than any human being ever with the whole tariff thing. What you're saying you're forcing us to go through right now is heinous. When you were making these stupid decisions, you were the only one affected by it. Now my is affected by it too.
Donald Trump is that guy saying this doesn't work. The system that we have built does not work.
But it did work. It was working fine. Republicans have been doing a political strategy called Starve the Beast for a long time, where they talk about tax cuts constantly. They want to destroy the government. They want to make it so that the federal government is completely inoperative. And they've been trying to do that for a very, very long time. Well, the way that they're going about doing that is to just keep cutting taxes. They don't need to argue with Congress. They don't need to make deals with anybody. They just need to cut taxes when they get their guy into the White House. Cut them more and more and more and more until the government is incapable of operating anymore because the debt is so high. This is what we're witnessing right now, a direct result of the Starve the Beast strategy. They wanted to destroy the federal government, and they've done it.
The principles do work. The free market, the principles of, America, the Bill of Rights, all of those things work, but we haven't been doing those things.
Why suddenly you're in favor of civil rights? Since when? First I'm hearing of it.
So how do we get us back to those principles? Because the other choice is let's manage the decline.
Jesus Christ, dude. This guy is terrible. He's a terrible propagandist who directly or indirectly has been responsible for countless people's deaths. And it is just vile. Tell me what you think in the comments. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they worked together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. This is Shane Vaughn. I haven't talked about him in a while, but let's talk about what he's up to. He is a literal prophet of Trump. I mean, there's an actual full-blown theology behind Donald Trump, and he is one of the theological followers of Trumpism. He's a Christian who believes that Trump is the Son of Man, and he's got a take on Donald Trump's economic policy.
These tariffs, they are not just policy. They are prophecy. You've got to get that deep in your mind tonight, because now that globalism is dead, it is literally Trump against the world.
Look, this guy, you know, he's got like deep problems, but if I had to say one good thing about him, it would be that he knows how to pop his peas.
It is literally Trump.
Top tier. That is top tier popping. I've never seen anybody pop their peas that well. Trump against the world.
Against the world. He has turned the world upside down, and now the nations are clamoring. Everything is unbalanced.
So every time he describes something that Trump is doing, he's relating it or connecting it back to Jesus in some way. You know, the people that killed Jesus, they were hateful and looking for an opportunity to hurt him. And now everybody is clamoring to be part of Jesus' organization and religion and beliefs now, or whatever, you know. That's kind of how he sets things up, because he thinks he's the Son of Man. Now, I've covered this at length before, so if you're curious, you can just search in my catalog of videos. But the Son of Man, just to kind of give a super basic primer, is a character is a character in biblical history who's supposed to come along and spark Armageddon, supposed to like be a cosmic judge that sets everything right and doles out God's judgment on people or whatever. It's from the Old Testament. And people up to now, Christianity believes that Jesus is the Son of Man. But Jesus died before he could fulfill his role as Son of Man. And everybody was like confused by that. Like, what? Why did he die? He shouldn't be dying right now. So people said, he'll be back. He'll be back. Just wait and see. He'll come back and he'll fulfill his role as Son of Man. That's why Jesus has to return to be the Son of Man. And that's why he brings Armageddon with him. Well, Shane Vaughn believes that Trump is the Son of Man. He believes Jesus is the Son of God and Trump is the Son of Man. So Trump is filling in for Jesus. He's not actually Jesus. He's fulfilling his role. So every time, you know, Shane Vaughn talks about Trump in any way, it's always in some prophetic context, in some way that's linked back to Jesus, in some direct, specific way. So the tariffs are prophetic. And he's not alone, okay? He's not a nobody either. He's very famous. He's very powerful. He's got a lot of money. He is a full-blown televangelist for all intents and purposes.
Everything is unbalanced. And I know mainstream media thinks that's bad, but they couldn't be further from the truth. This is the bold judgments coming up on the world. Yahweh has raised up a man, the breaker himself, to bring to pass those things that must happen in the end time.
Before Armageddon. These things must happen in the end times before Armageddon. Shane Vaughn believed that Trump would not leave office, that Armageddon would come before he left office. And he's got a very detailed, convincing explanation for how Trump can be the Son of Man. Claims that he's Jewish because when some Jews were taken captive in Babylon, some were left behind in Israel, and they traveled up over the Caucasus Mountains and went to the Anglo Isles and to Saxony, and then sailed over to the British Isles and became the Anglo-Saxons, and then sailed over to America and founded America, and Donald Trump is in the mix somewhere. So anyway, middle, we're all Jews. Trump is a Jew. Yeah. Absolutely psychotic, dude. Oh my God, it's crazy. Let's talk about Shane Vaughn, though, for a moment, shall we? Since we're talking about him, we might as well go all the way down the rabbit hole. Hey, you know what? He actually describes, or he explains his theology right here, at least in part. I explained it pretty well. See what he says.
Jewish people are not the same as Israelites. Make a long story short, thousands of years ago, 12 tribes of Israel, 10 of those tribes separated from the 2 tribes. Those 2 tribes are known as the Jewish people. The other 10 tribes known as Israel.
So the 2 tribes he's referring to, the tribe of Benjamin and the tribe of Judah, they lived in Judea, which was a little tiny country that split off from Israel to the south, and Israel was to the north. So some of this is verified fact, like verified historical fact. Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonian Empire sweeps in and claims this territory in Israel/Judea area and forces them to pay tribute to him. So they pay tribute for about 4 years, and then they turn on him. Like everybody in this little region in Judea and in Israel, they turn on Nebuchadnezzar, refuse the tribute. He sweeps back in and kills the leader, which was Zechariah, maybe? I don't remember. Kills the leader of Israel/Judah at the time. Judah and Judea are the same place. They just got renamed later. Anyway, he kills the leaders, and he takes a bunch of people from Judea captive, from the tribes of Benjamin and Judah. And the other 10 tribes kind of live to the north in Israel proper.
Israel doesn't live in Israel. Jews live in Israel. Israel was scattered all over the world, primarily the United States of America, Great Britain.
Yeah, it's just delusion. This is what I'm talking about, where he says they all sailed over to became the Anglo-Saxons, and it's just insane. But he's not alone. This is not some fringe theory. Well, it is, but it's pretty popular.
And the Commonwealth nations. So who was it that lived at the Gaza Strip? Israel, not Jews. Israel. Now, who is the leader of Israel? Donald Trump.
Because Israel is the people, God's people, and Jews are the people from Judah, and they're not God's people anymore, I guess, in his mind. Absolutely insane. But I am so entertained by it. Oh my God, this dude comes up with absolutely insane excuses too for like ridiculous stuff. This is really funny. Donald Trump did not put his hand on the Bible when he was sworn in for his second term.
Melania had that Bible in her hands. Okay? Before Melania could get there with the Bible, Justice Roberts had already started the oath.
Oh my God.
When she got up there, she, who happens to be him because they are one.
Melania was touching the Bible, and by the distributive property, I don't know. What mathematical property are we using that gets Melania touching it to Donald Trump touching it by proxy? What a joke, dude.
She was holding her hand on the Bible. These two shall become one.
Yeah, this is freeze tag rules.
So yes, he did because his wife did, okay?
Oh my God, it's so stupid. I'm so entertained by this shit, man. I'm sorry. Sometimes you gotta have a laugh, right? It's so stupid. All right, here we go. This is Shane Vaughn explaining that he is a cult member. He acknowledges that, but it's the left's fault.
We would never be this defensive of Donald Trump if you would not have forced us into this cult mentality.
God, dude.
Yeah, we would now fight for Donald Trump. Why? We believe in justice. And when we see a man that God's put his hand on being attacked night and day.
Such a victim, huh? Donald Trump is such a victim. Always being attacked night and day for no reason, too. He's such a nice guy. Nice to everybody, never done a single thing wrong. And everybody's just so mean to him. Literally born with a silver spoon in his mouth. One of the richest people on planet Earth. Certainly one of the most powerful people on planet Earth. And he's just so persecuted.
You are forcing us to look like a cult. We're patient and steadfast in our support of a single man. We are cult followers. Yes, we follow a man. Yes, we do. We drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange.
I'm a fan. I love that. That's good. That's a good one. I appreciate that he's self-aware. It's just like really wild to hear a Christian say like this when the Bible explicitly says, watch out for this type of event because people will come and they'll try to deceive you into following false leaders. Remember? Didn't the Bible say that? I feel like it did. I think it did. And here we are with these people literally saying, I follow a man and I am a cult member and I drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange. Just wild, man. As somebody aptly points out, that's your victim story. We're forcing you. Yeah, he's the victim, of course. So stupid. All right, one more for good measure. Let's see what we got. I want to find a good one. Okay, here's another part of the Trump religion right here. Check this out.
God has a plan to bring time to its great culmination. All world events must culminate at the end of time.
Okay, I don't know what that means. Go on.
For that to happen, certain world leaders must be in place. Certain men must be in place to stop a premature Third World War.
So of course, he's saying that Donald Trump needs to be in place to stop World War III. A premature World War III. So World War III is going to happen, but it's going to be instigated by Donald Trump. Is that the word I'm looking for? He's going to start World War III, and it's going to be a holy war ordained by God. Telling you, man, Trump could do literally anything. He could literally walk out on stage and say, I am the Antichrist. And these people, and people like Shane Vaughn, would say, he was joking. He's just telling a joke. You guys don't know how to take jokes. You what, the joke police over here? I don't think that there is literally one single thing that he could do that they wouldn't excuse away.
Why is that? Well, the leader of JP Morgan said last week that World War...
Oh yeah, I looked this up and he's completely twisting this around.
That World War III has already started with Russia, Ukraine, China. But the problem with that, it's not time yet for World War III.
So he's saying that Donald Trump is going to stop World War III and then start World War III again? Am I reading this correctly? I'm just looking for the exact quote, see if I can get info on it here. Jamie Dimon warns World War III has already begun and poses more of a risk to humanity than climate change. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, this is on this is on India Times, by the way. So is it trustworthy? You tell me. I'm just trying to read the quote. Has issued a serious warning that World War III may already be underway. He points to ongoing wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, as well as increasing cooperation among countries like Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. According to Dimon, these nations are working together to challenge the global system that has existed since the end of World War II. The shift in global power, he suggests, is not just a distant concern, but an urgent crisis unfolding in real time. This is released February 1st, 2025, when this article came out. And I remember when he was talking about this, and the global power to which he's referring is like an order that kind of was created after World War II. European power was crushed because France was dominated by Germany, and many, many, many other European countries were dominated and subsequently destroyed by Germany. Their economies were ravaged and, everything. It was just a total mess. And then Germany was in shambles, of course. So two world powers emerged ultimately. The West, which is the United States and the UK, and everybody allied with the West, which is like France and stuff, and the Soviet Union, and all of the states kind of organized with them. Of course, as we know, the Union collapsed. So the United States and democracy has reigned supreme largely since the end of World War II, in favor of basically dictatorship and fascism. Democracy won out over dictatorship and fascism. That is the global order in place since World War II. And Jamie Dimon is warning that fascism is taking root again in Russia, China, Korea, North Korea, and Iran. Like, they're working together to kind of form out a more powerful fascistic order, if you will. I don't want to use the word world order because that has links to conspiracy theories, but it's the way that the world is like organized structurally, power-wise. Anyway, I don't know if this came out 2025, so I guess Jamie Dimon probably did see this coming, but the United States very clearly siding with Russia and stuff in this whole scenario. I wonder how that factors into his whole equation. The U.S. is tipping the scales of power from the world's scales of power from democracy to dictatorship and fascism. Anyway, that's what he's referring to. Let's keep listening to Shane here.
That World War III has already started.
He has no idea what he's talking about.
With Russia, Ukraine, China. But the problem with that, it's not time yet for World War III.
Like, how do you know when World War III is supposed to be?
Why? Because World War III will bring the return of Yeshua, Jesus Christ, to this planet. But it's a little premature right now. That's about 30 years away.
Interesting. So he believes that Trump is going to take over on behalf of Jesus. I'm wondering why he said Yeshua like that. I mean, was he saying like Yeshua in spirit, or was he just trying to appeal to like a broader audience? Because this is definitely what he believes. I have copious amounts of videos of him talking about it.
So God had to raise up a man that will literally be able to stop the plans of the enemy. When I say the plans of the enemy, I'm referring to the Nephilim spirits that were put in prison during Noah's flood. Their desire...
What? They were imprisoned? I thought they were killed. Isn't that why he flooded the earth in the first place? To kill him? Why would he flood the earth if it wasn't going to kill the Nephilim?
To prematurely hijack the plans of God for the end of time.
Anyway, Shane Vaughn is one of the many people that I believe is so deep in it that there's no emerging for him, ever. He is so deep into this belief system that I believe he would literally kill for Donald Trump. Absolutely insane. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Trump raises tariffs on China to 104% effective tomorrow. From 10 to 104 in a week, Trump means business. At this point, I'm wondering whether China knows what it's doing. The EU joined in with similar tariffs. I wonder whether China's economy might collapse. You think China's economy is going to collapse? Please. It's the United States economy that's at risk of collapsing. China has made an alliance with Japan and South Korea to tariff the United States right back. Like, do you know what kind of stupid you have to be to get China, Japan, and South Korea on the same side in anything? This old gem from 2016. What, do I dare?
I beat the people from China. I win against China. You can win against China if you're smart. But our people don't have a clue. We give state dinners to the heads of China. I say, why are you doing state dinners for them? They're ripping us left and right. Just take them to McDonald's and go back to the negotiating table. Seriously. It's true.
That was one of the stupidest things I have ever heard him say, and that is saying something. Well, you had your opportunity. We'll see how it works out, huh? Well, look at this. Edit. Looks like the Brigaders failed miserably here. Still, what a pathetic use of time it must be, lurking on someone else's subreddit and not saying anything. Well, the reason nobody is saying anything on r/conservative is because they're banned instantly. Like, the moment that they say a word that's oppositional at all, they're banned. Regarding brigading, like, If it failed, then how do you even know you were being brigaded? Whatever. MAGA conservative, this might be the single most consequential action any president has done for the working class in my lifetime. Yeah? For the working class? No, I would say to the working class is more accurate. Don't let Reddit gaslight you, including the fellow conservatives here. This move is going to win blue-collar workers over in unprecedented numbers. Tariffing China 104% is going to win over blue-collar workers? I don't understand. It used to be common knowledge that America suffered from outsourcing to China, and now we're finally fixing the problem. That's the thing. We're not fixing the problem. We're not fixing outsourcing. We're just taxing people more. That's it. If you want to solve the outsourcing problem, then build factories that produce the things that you want to bring back to the United States, set up a supply chain independent of your competitor in China, and then start small tariffs. Exactly enough to not get in a trade war, which is what he's doing, but to encourage U.S. manufacturing over Chinese manufacturing. This is a level of delusion I can't crack. I cannot pierce. This is insane. This dude says, got it exactly right. As with other posts, the lurking off subreddit downvoters are at it. Upvoting replies few, if any, members here agree with, and generally downvoting others with alt accounts. If your opinions are unpopular, it's always other people's fault. It's never you that's unpopular or your ideas. It's always someone else's problem. What a pathetic use of time it must be, though, lurking on someone else's subreddit and not saying anything. We won't, or we'll be banned! And aside from that, it's always valuable, in my opinion, to understand what the delusional side of the spectrum is thinking at any given moment. Examining it and understanding why it's wrong so that we don't fall down the same path. So we don't fall for the same traps, if you will. It's Reddit's subreddit anyway, says Korn. Yeah, absolutely. Like, what? Your subreddit? You own it now? Whatever. Edit, see the downvotes? Here they are. No, I don't. I don't see the downvotes. They're perpetual victims. They cannot help themselves but to be victims 24/7. You know what? Let's talk about this for a second. I wrote a book about this, owenmorgan.com. It's on Amazon and Audible. Was Hitler an Atheist is the book. Now I wrote another one, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses. Regarding was Hitler an atheist, though, I wrote about what fascism is, how it's defined. And there's one guy that defined fascism pretty well. I don't think he really did much other notable things. Like, he wasn't a scholar in many other notable ways, but in fact, some of his other ideas were really stupid, honestly. But he did have an interesting take on fascism. I'm going to pull my book up. All right, this is my book. You just search for fascism. Here we go. So there were 14 points to fascism. And you don't have to have all 14. In fact, you can have only one of the points. And the rest of it kind of coagulates around it. Like the rest of the fascistic culture coagulates around it. For example, a cult of tradition. Traditionalism is a core component of fascism. It's the belief that the old ways were better. As a consequence of the conclusion that all truth has been revealed through tradition, there can be no advancement of learning. Truth has been already spelled out once and for all, and we can only keep interpreting its obscure message. It leads to anti-intellectualism. There are 13 other points, but fascism can exist with just this one point, where it becomes a full-blown, all-in cult around this whole system. But let's look at some of the other points. Rejection of modernism. This includes anything from a belief that women are dressing inappropriately to outrage over language used by kids. It's the belief that society is descending into depravity. And I did a video on this forever ago, but tell me who said this. Was it Donald Trump or was it Barack Obama? Children live in luxury now. They have bad manners. They don't care about authority. They show disrespect to their elders, and they love to talk. Who said it? Was it Trump or Obama? It was Socrates, 469 to 399 BC. Hold on, let's see. I've got like a bunch here. I did a whole video listing all of these. I can't find them now, though. I don't know where the video is now or when I made it, but there's somebody like really, really old from like the 30s that was saying the same. I don't even remember now. I can't find the quotes, but The point is, people have been saying this for like ever. Rejection of modernism. This is not novel or unique or whatever. This is the same that's been going on since forever. Same people have been complaining about since forever. Action for action's sake is number 3. Thinking is a form of emasculation. First instincts are favored over logical thought. Like, just give them the death penalty. If they commit an arson or something, give them the death penalty. They deserve it because they committed an arson. There's no room for nuance in there. There's no, what if you get the wrong guy? 4% of the people on death row are 100% completely and totally innocent. There's no, like, does this person really deserve the death penalty for arson? Like, isn't that a little extreme? It's all extreme, black and white, action for action's sake type of stuff. Rejection of criticism. Criticism isn't tolerated. Germany eventually reached a point, this is me writing in my book, these are my words. Germany eventually reached a point where any negative speech of any sort could lead straight to a concentration camp. In some cases, that included not using positive speech, like saying good morning instead of Heil Hitler. As a result, Nazism couldn't be debated and condensed into a logical ideology. Number 5, fear of difference. Umberto Eco, who wrote this set of points, I guess, states, quote, fascism seeks consensus by exploiting the fear of difference. The people are commonly convinced they're being persecuted, so fear of intruders naturally emerges. Appeal to a frustrated middle class, number 6. Fascism is the result of frustration. The middle class has at least one shared frustration. They fear they might lose their position, money, friends, or jobs. Fascists appeal to that fear, commonly through a rhetorical style called populism. Obsession with a plot, number 7. Followers must feel besieged. There has to be a plot against them. The quickest and easiest enemy is often immigrants. Jews were viewed as immigrants in Germany. Muslims are immigrants in the United Kingdom. And of course, Mexicans, Venezuelans, and El Salvadorans are immigrants in the United States. I can't stress this enough. The hatred for Jews in Germany in the 30s was because they were immigrants. They were immigrants first and foremost, and that was the complaint. They claimed that they were like trying to commandeer control of the country. You know, all the same stupid conspiracy bullshit that we hear today about Jews. Strength and weakness, number 8. Humiliation is an essential characteristic of strength and weakness. The group must feel persecuted and repressed by an enemy. By necessity, that means the enemy is stronger than the group. However, in the mind of a fascist, the enemy is also simultaneously too weak to govern effectively. In Germany's case, the Nazis believed there was a secret network of Jews that helped each other to the Aryan Germans' detriment, but they were of bad breeding stock and deserved to die for it. Number 9, permanent warfare. Being in a constant state of victimhood means that fascists are in a constant state of war. There's always somebody out to get them. They're insurmountable foes, so fascists look for evidence of repression behind every corner. This leads to a belief in an ultimate end to their enemies. Everything is set right, and the in-group is rewarded for being loyal and never questioning the ideology. I mean, is any of this sounding familiar? This is pretty dead on for what's happening in the United States right now. Popular elitism. The group believes there's something exceptional about them. They deserve things more than everybody else, especially their enemies. An ends justify the means mentality commonly appears to justify taking it. Weakness is not tolerated. Heroism. Normal people are told that death is an unpleasant end, but the hero strives for death. They believe it'll bring the ultimate reward. So, fascism glorifies sacrificing your life for something, for Jesus, for whatever. Machismo. Umberto Eco's article points out that machismo implies both disdain for women and intolerance and condemnation of non-standard sexual habits, from chastity to homosexuality. Nazis banned what they called degenerate art. Artists started making Nazi-approved sculptures and artwork. One famous piece by Arno Brecker was a sculpture of a naked man who with unnaturally large muscles. I have a bunch of the pictures in this book if you want to see them. They're also on my website, actually, owenmorgan.com. Just hit extras in the menu there for Was Hitler an atheist? You can see all of the pictures and stuff. Voice of the people. In a democracy, everybody has a voice and different opinions are acceptable. In fascism, there's a common will typically articulated by a thought leader. And finally, newspeak. Fascism commonly has its own vocabulary. Words are heavily censored and controlled to ensure everything meets the expectations of the voice of the people. It's also commonly used to suppress critical thinking skills like thought-stopping techniques. Those are the 14 points of fascism. Now, I'm sure that we can all pick out nearly every single point on this Reddit page alone. Just look at what we were reading a second ago. As with other posts, the lurking off subreddit downvoters are at it, upvoting replies few, if any, members agree with, and generally downvoting others with alt accounts. What a pathetic use of time it must be, lurking on someone else's subreddit. They're victims. They're constantly victims. Which point was that? Number 8 or 9? I don't remember. They can't say anything in non-flared posts. Don't worry, you'll know you pissed them off when you get a DM. Constant persecution. They're convinced there's constant persecution. I'm still recovering from a house fire last August. Wow, that sucks. Fighting insurance. Oh my God, what a nightmare. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Is horrific. I imagine so. I bet it is. Losing everything like that. It's scary too, I bet. My God. Anyway, yeah, these people are just they're just lost, man. They are lost. This is not going to end well. I love that. That's a good meme. Sid. I like his Sid meme. He's taking a sip of water. Sid. It's really good. Anyway, yeah. Tell me your thoughts. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.